Hi, I'm Janice Switlo, and today I want to cover another quote from a book by Dr. Eben Alexander, and this pertains to the core law in Indigenous law, and I think his explanation is helpful to hear. Most of the pain we experience in the world comes from one source: lack of faith that love is real. That's not to deny physical pain and hardship. No doctor could ever do that. But when we lose the sense of the concrete physicality of love, that love is entirely more real than anything in our life, then the lower part of life conquers us. You are loved. That was the most important message of my journey. This whole book is about an experience he had. I needed that message at the time of my experience because of my core wound from adoption, of unworthiness, guilt, and abandonment. The universal truth of unconditional love from the source is the most powerful message of my odyssey. It starts with loving yourself, which empowers you and connects you. This can be done through personal spirituality, regardless of one's religions. In many Indigenous nation communities today, there are a multitude of religions. It used to be the same religious practices and spiritual practices would take place, but now we have this further complexity. It exists in each one of us. The mystical traditions of all great faiths offer the same non-exclusive message. It is all about connecting to the divine through the heart. Remind yourself every day that the power of love, personal love, is stronger than every tumor, every accident, every act of evil. And we're seeing so much of that right now in Canada. The outlashes, lashing out on because roads are blocked and people are inconvenienced. There's some horrendous things online you can see that are happening that truly, every act of evil, every single brutal and terrible or just mundane, small, bad thing that happens to us on earth. Does this solve the world's problems? No, but it is the key to beginning to solve every last one of them. So, when I speak about people who are all gung-ho, they want to do something now, part of the difficulty is that they're still struggling with self-love because how they've been primed to view themselves in an unworthy way, an undeserving way. And they're still unable to access, unconditional love for themselves and to share that with others. And core to Indigenous nation laws is this concept of love, of acting for the benefit of others. There's a lot of people who are trying to overcome the effects of what's been done to Indigenous nationals, all with the intent of destroying their nations and pushing them aside and saying, you have no right to be here because, we're better. So before embarking on new grand strategies, it's so important to start to do that. So many are doing this. It's so encouraging to see. But everyone needs to take that time to connect with themselves, to know they're not alone. One thing that's always comforted me in this work that I've engaged in for 3+ decades is often I'm the lone voice. I'm breaking through concepts that are seen as legal and valid, and this is the only way things can be done. And I'm saying there's so many ways these things can be put to bed, and we can move forward and progress in a very positive way. Whenever I've felt discouraged, and lately I've been feeling that a little bit, just because of that worry I carry for all the people who are engaging in protecting their nationalities and their lands and their resources and all their relations. It's important to remember that you are never truly alone, that you may be the only voice in your community speaking and sharing the knowledge that's come to you. Why? Because you took the time to connect. You asked for help. Creator provided that, provided you with a circumstance where you could grow in love of yourself, and therefore spend your time and energy out of love for your community, not because you were trying to grab some money to buy some toy. There are many people that are all connected through this core of love, through this core law. It sounds, pretty out there in a way, but truly it is central. And it's really encouraging for me to read something like that from a non-native person who has absolutely no involvement whatsoever in the issues that I address, to see him starting to discover that. Well, you know what? Indigenous nations, let's talk about how far progressed they are or were at contact. They had that down thousands of years ago. Experts are just starting to speculate and embrace and think about these concepts. Can you imagine how much further along we would all be as a world society if we were to allow the knowledge and voice of Indigenous nationals to be heard, instead of us trying to stomp that out, trying to silence them? Wouldn't we be in a better place? I submit that we would, and that's all I have to say.